to go back in time just to learn about Indian classical music and where it began. I mean, there's a lot of mythical stories about, you know, the god and goddesses, but actually the evidence that we have begins from around 2,500 years BC, from the Vedic period. And then, you know, the different periods, the ancient period, the medieval period, and then contemporary. So if we could go back to the Vedic period and just talk us through how, from the Vedic chants, how music and the structure of the 12 notes came into being, if we can take that in stages.
In the ancient ages, in the Vedic period, everyone knows nowadays. Everyone knows everything, but still, I'm saying it that these things are not written. That there was only 3 notes: the Sa, the Kamalni, and the Kamal Re. I'm explaining you how it was. There was no 12 notes. The notes and the straight notes and the flat notes came later. So I'm singing. Still now, all the mantras, all the shlokas, you can hear are based on these 3 notes. So Sa, Kamalni, Sa, Kamalni, Sa. You can see all the suppose Om Guru Vavasvaha Savaturu Varanam Bhargo Devasva Devaya Dhiyo Yona Prashodaya Om Guru Vavasvaha. So only 3 notes used to be used in our music. Okay. Later on, from the nature, like Sarang Dev, who wrote the Sangeet Ratnakar book, he invented a lot of things in the Indian music.
This was already up to around the 5th century, no?
Yeah, it is. So he invented the notes, like from the voice of the cuckoo bird. He invented the pancham. From the sound of bow, he invented the nishad. So all the notes he invented, and most importantly, on that time, he invented the shrutis, the 22 shrutis, which are very important in our music. And also, he was born in Kashmir in a Brahmin parivar, and he did a great research work for the upliftment of the Indian classical music. He made the Natya Sangeet on that time, and gave a different shape to the Indian classical music. So that's the gradual thing he did, unless and until the Drupad music came.
So Sarang Devji, I mean, he actually mentions rag for the first time. The word rag was introduced in his book, in his Granth. And if you could just tell us a little bit more about Shruti, the microtones, how that's measured and how it's used within the scale, because that's quite unique to Indian classical music in that respect.
It is. 7 notes we have. Sa, sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni ra ga ma ga re sa. These are 7 notes, and you know the 4 common notes. Sa re ga, 5 common notes. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni ra ga ma ga re sa. These are 12 notes in our music he introduced. And the 12th Shruti is the ornamentation, like we used to wear the ornaments. So Shrutis are the ornamentation in our classical music. Suppose I am singing, you can't judge what note I'm singing. These are the ornaments, the microtones I'm using in between the notes. Ga, ma, ga, re, ga, re, sa. These are the ornaments which is they have the mathematical calculation which is difficult to explain in a short term.
Yeah.
So these are the things we used to call the shrutis.
And in fact, I mean, it says that initially there was 36 shrutis, but they were so fine that,
Yeah.
it was reduced to 22. And even that's, it's really difficult to measure. But yes, it is calculated.
It is.
Can we go a little bit back to the history of Indian classical music before Khyal, before Dhrupad? Of course, there are many theories about how Indian classical music started, mythological, theories, but actually the first recorded history is from the Vedas, from the Vedic period, no? And
Yeah.
and they were
Four Veda was there: Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Atharva Ved, and the Sam Ved. Sam Ved is for music, and that is called Sam Ved. So we all sing all Sam Ved music.
And this during the Mughal period, not from the 11th century, there were a lot of these emperors' courts where the musicians would perform. Can you give us an insight of that? How, what happened, and what music was performed there? And did you
Yeah,
ever sing it?
and Akbar, King Akbar, that time also Tansen was his Raj Gayak, and in older time also, and Panditji also was Raigad Gharana in Raipur, MP, that is in MP, and there is Raja Chakradhar Singh, and Panditji was a Raj Gayak. So Tansen was Raj Gayak from Akbar place, and Panditji also Raj Gayak from Raigad Maharaj. After that, all Maharaj came. So see, from that time he was a, and that time Birju Maharaj's father, Achan Maharajji, he was there in the dance, and Jialal also very great dancer, and Panditji was a Raj Gayak of Raigad Maharaj, and after that he came to Bombay also. After that, Raja sab chale gaye aur kya kare? So after that they were singer and perform everywhere.
When did this dissolve, all these emperors' courts, rajas? When was this?
It was 1932. Panditji was there in Raigad. 32 Pandit Pratap Narayanji was, because he was singing in Kolkata, and that time Raja came and heard him. So he was so happy to hear him. Well, you come to my place. So he took him to Raigad. And Panditji was 9 years, he was a Raj Gayak there. And Raja used to hear whole night there is classical program. So Panditji used to sing, and then the Achan Maharajji dance, and that time तबले पर वो दिल्ली घराने का who is the tabla player, very
Fiaz Khan sir?
नहीं, not Fayaz का साहब, तो ये अभी का है, ancient that is, and Pandit ji learned from him. That's why he was in Raigad, and he
Irkwa Khan
दिल्ली
sir?
दिल्ली दिल्ली घराना,
हाँ.
तिरकवा से भी आगे,
Oh,
दिल्ली घराना, हाँ,
Munir Khan sir?
तिरकवा, हाँ,
Munir Khan sir?
नहीं, नहीं, मुनीर खान साहब भी नहीं, इनका नाम I used to think so many times. But so many artists was there like that, and Pandit used to perform classical there, and 9 years he was there Raj Gayak. After that he went to Rewa. Then British government took everything, and so after that Raja sab chale gaye. Then all the artists started to sing and performing everywhere like that.
Okay. So around the partition, this all dissolved.
Yeah.
Acha.